beloved Ascension pioneers. I found a really beautiful spot, a location spot to record today, and we finally had the desired weather shift here. It's a beautiful sunny day after all the rain and snow. We had first snow. And just recently I was really tuning into what's important right now, what's happening, because we're going through an intense shift that, as many of you know, also includes dream time work. So I was posting on my Facebook page for all of you who tune into my updates regularly, and I asked you if you want me to talk about the subject of dreams and dream time realities and how they're important for the understanding of our ascension. And so many of you said yes, so here I am. And I was asking Spirit what's really important to share on this topic, and it didn't give me much new as to what I already know, because it always gives me as much as is needed, to put out. So I trust infinitely. And I'm just going to give you the basic necessities for what is really important for personal ascension, as in terms of dream time, and what is really these different aspects of dream realities when we are in a dream mode. And this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So the first thing that's really important to understand is there's so many questions arising, and a lot of you write to me and express that you had a dream of me, and a lot of people also don't have that understanding. And sometimes I get a question, it's like, why were you in my dream, Polona? And it's like, well, don't ask me, ask your higher self. And sometimes people don't have this understanding of what's really taking place. So recently somebody wrote to me that had a dream about me, and they couldn't understand it because it was me and my pupils, so my students, and there was this group, and it was about being a pioneer and all that, and the person was asking me, what is this? And the thing is that so many of you sometimes write this to me, or they say, oh, I met you in spirit, you were so tall, and all these things. And I want to talk about the difference, basically, about the astral plane and what they serve when we are in our dream realities, and what the higher plane, so the higher dimensions, where all this master self-learning, where all this training and a master teaching level takes place. So as you know, there's different levels within levels within levels. So the first thing to really understand when you enter a dream state, you don't just automatically say, well, I go into astral and that's it. And this person asked me, so why, you don't go to bed and you go to astral? I said, well, it's kind of hard to put it so much in black and white, because you must understand that we are very multidimensional beings. We have different parts of ourselves. So when I go into sleep mode, it's not that I'm just there and that's it, period. And sometimes even in meditation states, when you doze off and you think, wow, are you taking a nap during the meditation? A lot of us who are doing service work, sometimes we engage in meditations and we're not even sleepy. This happens to me often. You just really go somewhere else. It doesn't have to even be a meditation you join. It can be, sometimes I'm just in nature and I just can't believe, I'm just, my head keeps falling down. I'm like, where am I going? Because I start feeling dizziness. And this is how I know that I'm actually constantly tuning and going somewhere else. So when we ask our spirit what's really behind, when we have an experience like this, we need to know that it's something that it's just as it is. That's the first step to embracing it. And when I, for example, I enter a meditation, and this happened to me recently, and I wasn't even sleepy, and I kept, my head kept falling down, and I was like, I'm not there. And the signs that I notice always when it's over, I feel almost like a bit dizzy. I need to ground myself again in this experience, and it's because maybe my overall part was needed somewhere, maybe in the group that was meditating. So a lot of us are doing that service work. It's really important to understand any terms of dreams or altered state of consciousness during meditation is that you don't have the control as in what you would wish to experience as in your human self, your lower self, but your higher self already knows where it's taking you, and that each experience will be unique, and that you're doing something that maybe you're not conscious of, but you're doing it anyway because it's needed this way and your soul is choosing it. That's the first part that's really important. And the second part that's important is to really discern and to know the difference between the astral planes and these higher realms. So a lot of people, when they have a dream about me, they dream about some sort of teaching taking place or an energy exchange, and they're getting to know a higher version of themselves. And the thing is that on a higher plane of existence, that's where all these masters reside, and that's where we need to reach them. So when a soul is ready, a soul kind of makes the jump from that astral. Well, astral is more like the training ground, you know, when you have those, a lot of people say, I have constant action dreams, or, you know, black and white polarities playing out, and different stories almost unfolding. And this is like a training ground. Dream world, it's almost like a training ground for your experience. And in the astral planes, you know, it's not fully benevolent. That's why, because of this training, there's going to be contrast, and there's a lot of contrast in the astral planes. And this is not where these master teachings takes place. So an astral plane is almost like you learning and training your skills. And a lot of people dream about flying, or, you know, working with color, or almost meeting dark forces as well. Just recently, a divine companion who shared his dream with me, how it was all about this, you know, playing out of this story with light and dark and doing different things and robots and all these scenarios. And it's a part of this is real. It's like when you practice for a show you will have in the physical. So it's almost like in these astral planes, there's parts of us that are gathering all this, how to really alchemize, you know, with your own magic, how to become a being that is conscious of its choices, of its impact, of its power. And this is how this training takes place, and a lot of times you will have those dreams. And a lot of times what I notice is that people become too attached to what's taking place there, and they say this is their truth, because it seems so surreal, or it's so lucid, or to a lot of the people who have not yet mastered to really love and enjoy their lives here, they rather would go in those planes. But those planes don't serve for that reason, you know, to master in incarnation, in embodiment. They're to master for the incarnation, if you understand what I mean. So a lot of the training on this level takes place there, and because there's contrast, there's duality. And that's why in the astral planes we also are in contact with the beings that are not always of light. And this is where we practice this discernment and being in our power, and really learning what's what. You know, we need to learn to feel, to discern, to find that trust in ourselves. So this is what's taking place, and we're learning. Sometimes we're being shown our abilities, what they are, what we're capable of. A lot of times we can't translate this in the physical reality, but it's still, you know, it's a training ground. So when a soul is still learning and, you know, mastering its own power, its own essence in that way, usually will have a part of itself that's very active in the astral. So a lot of the people who say they're dreamers and they dream a lot and they dream in this astral state, I had an experience when this friend always tells me they dream of me, but I never dream of them, except when maybe we conversate and we have a connection and we talk about something, and then I process it in the dreams, and that's where kind of like it feels like this meeting of souls. But otherwise I do not. So I kept asking myself, well, why is this taking place? It's because it's their experience, it's not mine. So that's the thing, you know, it is so unique. And the astral training, it's very much, when a soul transcends even that, it will usually move to the higher planes. A lot of times, most of the times, it's simultaneous, because it's like, if you know of the concept of a wormhole, right? It's like a loop to another dimensional, another higher vibrational state, or, you know, from higher vibrational to this lower dimensional state. It doesn't matter. It's just that another altered reality, that there's like a shortcut, because, you know, we get from this flat leaf. You've seen that probably if you watched the movie Interstellar, how they explain it as well, and most physicists do. You get from this flat, you know, A to B point, you make it a circle, and then the route is shortened. So in dreams, we also have these wormholes, you know, there's like these gateways that we're accessing these different parts. So in this, it's really important to to find a space where you are. I've noticed that a lot of people who have these vivid dreams, very lucid, and they're kind of most of the times in the astral, and there's a being who's maybe not, and they don't remember their dreams. Sometimes they feel almost like, oh, you know, why don't I have this? And I would not recommend for you to compare your dream experience with anybody else, because your soul is on a level when it knows what it's doing, where you are, how you are unlocking these gateways, and what is important for your own expansion. So first rule, I always say this to everybody, you can never compare with somebody else, because you don't know where they are in their progression, and you don't know what they're choosing to experience or master or navigate through. It's about you, and it's always been about you and your own source. So the only source of comparison can ever be is you, your previous self, yourself in the now, and you where you wish to be in the future. So that intention. And during the dream states, our soul already knows. It's very automatic, and yet they're still learning. So the more conscious we are in the physical, and that's why I'm making this video, the more we embrace this, and the easier it will be for us to remember and to understand what's happening, and then to implement it, to integrate it in our physical experience as well. Because dream world is something that's been so tapped into by so many researchers, and yet everybody will have their own explanation of it. That's the thing, and that's the beauty of it. You know, it's something that is so deep that nobody will have a direct answer to. And it's true, it needs to be about us. You know, and the concept of oneness and unity is not you to get answers from somebody else. You know, I can, you know, expand on this topic how Spirit shows me, and yet it comes through me. And oneness is you receiving from Source in your own way. So it doesn't mean you need to receive from the outer anymore. You receive, maybe you get a trigger, but you receive from your inner. Okay, this is one thing. The higher realms where these master teachings take place is a different level, and mostly we don't remember these most of the time. You will remember this, and this is when, let's say, people have a remembrance and they share with me that I had this dream, because they remember it from the higher planes. If it's a teaching kind of dream, if it's a dream that shows you your mastery, that shows your essence, this is not an astral dream. So this is the dream from the higher planes, and it's all about energy, it's about colors, it's about, I mean, it can be also in the astral, so this is something that you can get a lot of confusion about here. So it needs to come not from that infatuated self, like, oh, you know, because it's very rare. It's really very rare for us to remember these higher planes teachings, because they're meant to, they're happening on a soul level. They're not happening on our human level, and we have them inside. So we don't have to remember it unless there's a reason. So when you remember something, and let's take an example when somebody tells me they had a dream of me and I was teaching them something. And to me it's funny, because it's just, as humans we have this weird understanding of all of this. We make it so, oh, and yet this is just something just so natural, you know? We make it so something special, or, you know, like somebody who asked me, oh, what does this mean? You know, we take it so much like with such a burden, or with such a need to understand, and yet this is just natural. So higher planes dreams, they happen more on a level of our inner knowing self. So it's more like the inner integration, and when you're going to walk your daily reality, it's something that will sink into your soul awareness, and you're just going to have a knowing, and it's something that you were already integrating on these higher planes. So it's all simultaneous, you know. It's not like I go to sleep at night, I go to one place, period. There's like layers and layers of layers, like in an onion of you, and each part will know exactly where to go, what to do, and what it's bringing through and what it's expanding into. Or if you're a service to other soul, how you will serve others also in a dream state. So if you've been reading maybe Dolores Cannon's material, there was a lot of individuals describing this, you know. When they went into regression, they described how not just consciously but also how they do that work. When they go to sleep, how they serve, maybe some people were going to different gateways to certain portals, how they were, you know, maybe some people are helping other souls to access through, helping them to find these gateways to higher dimensions, and there's just a lot of differences here. So each soul on that level already has that intrinsic knowing, so it's nothing so woo, you know. And the thing about these, when you do remember, it's usually for a reason. So let's say you remember something and there was this beautiful scene and you remember it. It's for you to really have, spirit wants you, your soul wants you to actually have a remembrance of it, because maybe you need it on that level. So when sometimes people begin with this awakening, they will have that remembrance. And a lot of these dreams, they're very special. They're very rare, so they don't happen always so often that we would remember them. And a lot of people say, I don't remember my dreams, so much. And it's not important for you to. So there's no such room for comparison here, who remembers more. Sometimes I see people who are more lucid, and these dreams that are more about these different actions unfolding and scenarios, they're usually more astral dreams. But when it's a teaching kind of dream, when it's a spirit kind of dream, then that's from the higher planes. Again, the astral can be anything. It can be recreating of anything. There can also be false light in the astral. So sometimes there's beings who are not discerning, developed enough in their soul, maturity in the way that they know discernment, they know what's what, because they feel energy of it. And light can look like light, but it can also be programmed. So because in the astral it can be anything. So the soul is mastering this discernment. And a lot of times beings who are very lucid in the astral kind of dreaming, they're still mastering those lessons even. And it can be anything. So when you receive guidance, and there's a lot of confusion about it as well, and if it doesn't feel like fully pure, then just take it for what it is. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take it too much at heart, because you never really know what it is unless you're always in that full knowing. And even if it's something like that, oh, that's not it. It's just something that feels off. And because dreams, they're not separate from our conscious reality. Just like in your conscious reality, you need to always have your discernment on. In your ascension, you're always learning to feel through energy, not just what's spoken or what's presented in the visual. There can be anything behind it. So it's the same kind of lessons, only in a different reality. So we're practicing and then we're embodying it here. And also, like, we're having higher teachings and we're receiving them in a physical, again, in the higher levels, you're being prepared for that as well. So it's nothing like, so wow, wow, this happened, wow, what is this, it's nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to worry too much about. It's just, like I said, it's very natural. And what else could be important here? I'm trying to think of what else I was trying to say, and then, I get too much in it and I forget. It's just that, when we have, sometimes when we're service to other soul, when it happens for a lot of volunteer souls, Ascension pioneers, is that when we will be there serving others, we won't have the kind of dreams that most people have. And I've read this years ago, and it resonated fully about when you go somewhere, like on higher planes, and most of it is just, you're not there. But you still, you kind of create this, kind of like a loophole, and you create this dream kind of like where you were, but you weren't really there. So it's like your own recreation of something. If you've seen the movie Inception, when they're using these different characters in the dreams, and the architects are creating these scenarios and the scenery, this is kind of like similar. So in that text, when I read those a few years ago, it was all about when you're actually somewhere else, but you will be shown this weird dream, like a silly dream, like you have a cartoon, and it's very repetitive, or something that it's known to you, it's very familiar to you, and you keep having that as a reprogramming, like a TV, that plays the same old program when the actual live program is not there, if you know what I mean. So it looks live, it looks like it's happening, but it's just a replay of something. So when I have this, and this is especially happening now because I always recognize when these shifts are taking place. There's a lot of work happening on different levels that we're doing, not just when we're physically sharing what we're doing here. And in our aware state, I notice this when I have these very repetitive dreams with always same characters, usually sometimes people from high school or usually middle school, And it's very bizarre, nothing like concrete, and it's just like a replay of something, and it's just these characters and weird scenarios. And I always know this because I learn what this is for me, and whenever I have those dreams, I know that I'm actually somewhere else. Most of me is somewhere else. It's doing this work that I don't need to be conscious of. Why? It's because if I was, imagine you knowing so much data at the same time. Have you seen movie Lucy? She actually lost it when she knew too much. She wasn't even capable of holding her physical form. That's the thing. We see through the higher vision and through the higher aspects as much as we're capable of, as much as we need it for the purpose here. Anything else doesn't serve us. So knowing too much also can be a disservice to you. So when you are too much focused on, I need to remember my dreams, I need to do this, it's like people are really forcing it. I'm noticing that if you remember, it's a natural process. You just do. Of course, it's important to keep your third eye pure and clear and to know your spirit activations. Because when I was going through my third eye real opening, I kept seeing mandalas, like a kaleidoscope images, always in my dreams. There was always this opening, and then I entered this whole new space, and I knew that was it. Then it stopped because I went through that level. So there's levels within levels within levels. And it's not so much important to have a conscious understanding of everything, like to put it in boxes and to analyze. Because again, you're doing yourself a disservice. Your soul already knows where it's going. And the more knowing, understanding that you have, and the differences between the astral, what the astral plane really is, because I see a lot of people still confuse it for the higher spiritual planes. It's not the same purpose. So everything in creation has its unique purpose. And when we understand it, then we're more conscious of it. And you know what happens when we're more conscious of it? We're flow. We're moving in the flow of our physical ascension. So we have that understanding, and we see through the higher discernment. And that's really important. So we don't need to force it. We don't need to force to remember the dreams, to know what they're about. Sometimes they're going to be completely not making any sense. So the last point that I want to make here is, know the types of the dreams you're having, and that's enough. You don't have to have a conscious understanding in an intellectual level, because you can't. If we would see everything, every detail for every person, for everything that's happening at the same time, like God sees, we wouldn't function in this. We don't need human form anymore, so we're not in that form. Just know that this part of you integrates what is needed in this moment. And if you feel like you still need to remember more about dreams, you can go to bed with your crystals. You can do breath work before you fall asleep. I usually don't like to fall asleep on my back because I can't. I'm just half conscious in that state. I'm really like an altered state, but I don't really fall asleep on that level. I would continuously be waking myself up. When I go to the side, that's when I really fall asleep. So sometimes it works magic if you, before you go to sleep, like in real, take some moments to just lie on your back, to go into those altered states before you say, okay, now I'm really gonna fall asleep. That helps too. And there's a lot of things and techniques you can do, but mostly don't force it. Know that maybe your soul isn't showing you something because it's not for you to deal with at this time. When you're ready, it will come. So it's important to have this knowing that what dream is what dream. Sometimes there's also symbolic dreams that are soul messages. These are spirit dreams telling you, your soul showing you, the spirit showing you through your soul, what you really need to feel at this moment. And a lot of times I had those in my dreams, and I knew it was so prophetic in a way. And I didn't sometimes, in the past, I didn't always listen to it, and yet I had this knowing, because Spirit showed me. It was like a gift, this vision, and these dreams are also a part when it's just like pure communication with the divine. And again, that comes in a unique feeling. So these are the kind of dreams that I would say that you just can't forget. They're always like, because the kind of dreams that are more like these stories and actions and things going on, you remember them when you wake up, and then you start your day, you already forget, because it's not really important. Those kind of dreams that are real spirit messengers, they stay. You can't forget them. So they have something deep for you. Okay, so this is it. Maybe I'll expand on this as we go further in our ascension, but for now, this is what Spirit guided me to share. I hope it's helpful on some level. A lot of you maybe are beginning on this level to understand more, and it's perfect. And as always, so much love, wisdom, and power. Sun is going down soon behind the mountains. I hope you get some treats and some sun from this. And take care. I'll see you soon. So much love. Bye.